as baseball now comes front and center. Pitchers and catchers report for the Yankees today. They started coming in for the Mets yesterday. So it's a good way to start off the show with football in the rearview mirror and baseball clearly in the windshield. What is the deal with both of the New York teams? Well, let's take a look at the Mets first. The Mets, I believe, are better than the team that went to Game 6 of the NLCS last year. Does that get them that far and further this year? Only time will tell. There's questions on the Mets, but getting Juan Soto and then bringing back Pete Alonso, there's no way that you could say that this team is not better offensively. You essentially replaced Starling Marte with Juan Soto. Juan Soto had 41 home runs last year. Juan Soto is a generational type of hitter. He does great things for the Mets. He will do great things for the Mets. It was an important signing for them, and they did it. And I think they got better because of it. You've got a second year of Mark Vientos. You've got Pete Alonso with a little something to prove. Maybe there's a little less pressure after going through free agency for the first time. And then he knows if he opts out of this year's contract, which he will, that he does not have the albatross of the qualifying offer in him, which means that other teams will not have to worry about giving up a draft pick. And I think that that's a big thing. And I also think that's a big thing that the players' union is going to have to get rid of, because it really does slow down free agency, especially when you put in codicils the way Scott Boras wants to of opting out. So if Pete Alonso signed a 4-year deal with the Blue Jays and then opt out after year one, the Blue Jays don't want to give up a draft pick for 1 year of a player. They'll give up a draft pick for 4 years of a player, but not for one. Anyway, we digress. So I like the Met lineup. Carlos Mendoza, who we're going to have on a little bit later on this week, he's the Met manager. He certainly showed that he could lead a team to great things as they made a strong comeback in the second half last year and got into the postseason. And then they did damage in the postseason. And as I said, came to within a couple of wins of going to the World Series. So this is a better offense. Now, what concerns me about the Mets? Their starting pitching concerns me. You know, Kodai Senga is a really, really good pitcher when he's healthy. Is he going to be healthy? And the Mets are going to have their 6-man rotation in order to try to keep him healthy. He wasn't healthy last year. That's a big deal. You've lost Luis Severino. You're asking Clay Holmes to become a starter. He's got the good stuff. He's got a great makeup. Can he become a starter? Frankie Montas? Big question mark. Sean Manaea had a great year, ran out of gas in the last game against the Dodgers. If he could recreate what he did last year, that's a strong number 2. Peterson lived up to his first-round status and actually had a very good year. But there's no dynamic, big-time starter in that starting rotation. It could be Senga, but is he going to stay healthy? And can you be a dynamic, big-time starter in a 6-man rotation? Because in a 6-man rotation, you're not going to get 32 starts. You're probably going to get about 28, 27 starts. So I don't think the Mets have the depth in the starting rotation, and their bullpen is also questionable. You have Edwin Diaz, which is very good. But leading up to Edwin Diaz, what do you have that makes you feel great? So I think the Mets are a good team. I think the Mets should make the playoffs. But in terms of being a dynamic, overwhelming team, I'm not sure. I think they drastically improved their offense, and the pitching is a question mark. But the reason why I will not go crazy about this is because if David Stearns has a strength, and he has many strengths as a GM, he knows how to patch together a rotation. He could have gone for long-term answers for that ace starter. He could have. He could have gone after Corbin Burns. He could have gone after Blake Snell. He could have gone after Max Fried. There are players out there he could have gone after, but you know what? He does not believe in giving long-term contracts to pitchers. And that's fine, as long as it works out. So what he patched together last year was good enough. And he's also really good at patching together a bullpen. So I'm not going to cast total doubt on the rotation and the bullpen. I'm just saying, looking at it, it's a concern of mine. The offense is not a concern of mine. It'll be interesting to see how they line it up. In what order are they going to come up? I think you have to have Lindor as the number 1 hitter because when they moved him to the leadoff spot, he became a different player. He was absolutely a force. And then whichever way you want to play with Soto and Alonso and Vientos, that's going to be your choice. Soto had always preferred to bat in the number 3 spot, but last year the Yankees had him in the number 2 spot, and he had his best year ever. But he also had Aaron Judge hitting behind him. So that's a little bit of a decision that Mendoza has to make. Does he want Soto 3rd, Alonso 4th, move somebody up to 2, somebody else up to 2? There's a lot of maneuverability there for Carlos Mendoza, how he wants to lay out this lineup. It's going to be intriguing and fun to watch how he does it. So, are the Mets better than last year? I don't know how you say they're not. When you add Juan Soto, even if you didn't do anything else, how are they not better than last year? Of course they're better than last year. But remember one other thing. They snuck into the playoffs last year. And they had to make a spirited run down the stretch. And then they got really hot in the postseason. The Alonso home run in Game 3 against Milwaukee, and then they knock off the Phillies, and then they go to 6 games against the Dodgers. But against the Dodgers, you could see how they were a little short with pitching. And then when Mania ran out of gas and he was absolutely exhausted in that last game, they ended up losing. But you can't knock their season. No one expected them to go that far. But when you sign Soto, you expect to go further. And the thing that stands in the way for the Mets is you got a Philly team that added Luzardo. You got a Braves team that's going to get back Strider, who hardly pitched, and Acuna, who hardly played last year. They'll both probably come back in May. They lost Max Fried. They lost Charlie Morton. But a lot of people expect good things from the Braves. So there's 2 teams right there in the East. I think that the Nationals are going to be better, maybe approaching a 500 team. And the Marlins are going to be dreadful. Marlins did nothing. They subtracted. They did not add. They're an awful team. Awful. You got the Central Division where if you look at all the projections, a lot of people are expecting great things from the Cubs. And the Cubs still could sign Alex Bregman. Otherwise, they'll go with a rookie at third base. Milwaukee's going to be good, as it always is. And don't discount the Cincinnati Reds with Terry Francona at the helm. But I don't think that you're going to get a wild card out of the Central. I don't know which of those teams going to win. I say the Cubs will win the Central. I don't think any other team will get enough wins in order to get to a wild card. And then you got a loaded National League West. The Dodgers are projected at 103.5 wins over under. Amazing, right? Got the Dodgers. You got an improved Giants team. You got the Diamondbacks, who won 89 games last year and just missed the playoffs on the last game. And you got the Padres. So the Dodgers are going to win that division, but is one of the wild cards going to come out of that division? Are 2 going to come out of that division? That's the big question. So if 2 come out of the West, that means 1's going to come out of the East. And is that 1 going to be either the Phillies, the Braves, or the Mets? And one of those teams is going to win the division. That's some of what the Mets are up against. But if anybody's trying to tell you or sell you that the Mets are not a better team than last year, don't buy it. Of course they're better. They added one of the best players in baseball. How could they not be better? Of course they're better. Let's move on to the Yankees. Now, under that thinking, you'd say, well, you can't say the Yankees are better because they lost one of the best players in baseball. But I think they got creative, and I think that they are better, and I'll tell you why. They got better defensively. Wherever they put Bellinger, and I believe that they should put Bellinger in left, not in center, and I'll tell Aaron Boone that at 2 o'clock. Wherever they put him, he's going to be better than what they had last year. Because the only knock on Soto, he's not a good defender. There's no other way to put it. He's not a good defender. In fact, he struggles. It's going to be interesting to see him play right field at Citi Field with all the nooks and crannies. He's not a good defender. Met fans will find that out. He's not a great base runner. He's an unbelievable hitter. So you subtract Verdugo, you add Dominguez, who turned 22 the other day, and you add Bellinger. So your outfield now is Judge moving from center to right. Judge was not metrically a good center fielder last year. He's a very good right fielder, much better than Soto. If you put Bellinger in center or Dominguez in center, you've improved over last year. And whoever you put in left, if you put Bellinger in left, you've improved, I believe, over Verdugo, who was a really good outfielder. Now, if you put Dominguez in left, you haven't improved in left. Sorry, you haven't. All right, let's move to the infield. Goldschmidt, at this stage, even at 37, is a better defender than what Anthony Rizzo became. Jazz Chisholm is a better defender than Gleyber Torres. Anthony Volpe is a very good shortstop. He'll be a very good shortstop again. Third base is a huge black hole for the Yankees. I don't know what they're doing there. If they really intend to fill third base with the three guys that are right now on their radar, I think that would be a negative on the team. Austin Wells has turned out to be a good defender. They have to find a backup catcher. And pitching-wise, you've added Max Fried. And the Yankees hope that they have Garrett Cole for a full season. So Garrett Cole and Max Fried 1-2. Carlos Rodon, if he can recreate what he did in the first half last year, is a real good number 3. Luis Gil is the reigning Rookie of the Year. And Clark Schmidt, they hope that for the full year, and they probably think that he could take a next step as well. And their bullpen is much better than it was last year. In the second half of last year, they didn't have a closer. Their closer was Clay Holmes, and he lost his job. Luke Weaver did a good job filling in, but now Luke Weaver could play the role of Mariano Rivera in 1996. Give you 2 innings, leading up to Devin Williams, whom MLB Network said is the best closer in baseball. You got Devin Williams. How's your bullpen not better? And probably in May, you're going to get back Jonathan Loaisiga. Maybe even a little sooner. Cruz, who they picked up in the deal with the Reds for Trevino, a strikeout machine. Now he also has to throw strikes and not walk people, but he averages about 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. You're going to have Mark Leiter a full season. Maybe he pitches the way he did in the postseason, and he gets a lot of strikeouts. Cousins. You bring back Hill. They just signed Matzik to a minor league contract. The Yankee bullpen is absolutely loaded. Show me a better bullpen. Maybe the Dodgers, but the Yankee bullpen is outstanding. So when you put that all together, yeah, they lost Juan Soto, but I actually think they're a better team. They tightened up the defense, which certainly reared its ugly head in the postseason, especially in the World Series. And yeah, they're going to lose offense, but I think that they've added enough offense. Remember, first base for the last 3 or 4 years for the Yankees has been an absolute black hole. They never got from Anthony Rizzo what they thought they were going to get. Never. After he got hurt against San Diego when he ran into Tatis Jr., it was over. He never really recovered. He was not the first baseman that we thought he was going to be. Just wasn't. So, you're going to improve defensively. I think that even at his advanced age, Goldschmidt's going to give you more offensively than Rizzo did. Full season of Chisholm, who's a good second baseman. I like what the Yankees did. I mean, they could have been demoralized losing Soto, because don't listen to any of the nonsense. Well, the Yankees were okay with losing Soto. Stop it. You know how far beyond their comfortability level they went to try to get Soto? They wanted Soto back desperately. And people are going to try to tell you who want to put lipstick on a pig. Well, if they got Soto, they wouldn't have been able to make those other moves. Yeah, they wouldn't have been, because they didn't want a $300 million payroll. But they would have put together a really good team. But rather than bury their head in disappointment after losing Soto to the crosstown rivals, you know what they did? They pivoted quickly, and they made the trade for Bellinger, and they made the trade for Devin Williams, and they signed Goldschmidt, and they signed Max Fried. It was a great pivot. And right now, I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League. So the route to the World Series, to me, seems pretty clear. And you could stub your toe, obviously, anywhere in the postseason. Anywhere. But when you look in the American League East, Orioles are good. They're good. But they lost Corbin Burns, and they added veteran starter. They added Charlie Morton and the veteran pitcher from Japan. They're going to get back Bautista as their closer after Tommy John surgery. But I don't think they added enough. They also lost Santander. So I think the Orioles are still behind the Yankees. The Red Sox, offensively, they're not quite there yet. They did a good job adding Garrett Crochet, but they're not there. They're not there offensively yet. Blue Jays are intriguing, but I don't think they're good enough. Tampa Bay is intriguing. I don't think they're good enough. So I think the Yankees are the best team in the East. They're better than any of the teams in the Central. They prove that every single year. And the Astros are a different looking team than ever before. I think they probably still can win the West, but the Rangers are going to be better. They have Jacob deGrom back in their rotation. They have Rocker. They could bring up Leiter. They've got some pieces. I think the Angels are going to be better if they could keep Mike Trout healthy and they just signed Kenley Jansen to be their closer. But you look at all those teams. Seattle doesn't hit enough, so I don't think that Seattle's going to win that division. Yankees are the best team in the American League. They just are. Prove me wrong. Make me think otherwise. 1-800-919-3776. Let's go to the phones. All right, before we get to Sal at 1:30 and back up to Boone at 2 o'clock, we'll also have Rich Samini to talk about where the Jets go after moving on from Aaron Rodgers. Why don't we go to Kevin and Hapog as he leads it off. Kevin?
Hey, Michael, first time, long time, huge fan. Great to call in.
Thank you.
I'm actually not going to prove you wrong. I'm going to prove you more than right. So Goldschmidt's a lift over Rizzo. Chisholm is better than Torres out of the gate. Bellinger's better than Verdugo was out of the gate. Overall, the defense has improved. You're getting the same from third base that you got to start out last year. Huge difference, though, with Fried over the other starter, Stroman. And then, obviously, the closer improvement is massive. I mean, 12 blown saves from Holmes was a huge thing to surmount for the Yankees last year. And I think at the end of the day, similar to the Mets with the starting rotation, if they're in it to win it at the deadline, they'll get a third baseman if they don't get one before the season starts. And the Mets will probably get a starter somewhere along the line this season. But I think the Yankees, really good pivot away from what happened with Soto. And there's no doubt that they're going to be better overall. It's just a question of the delta between Soto and Dominguez. Dominguez really is a huge wild card, and I think, the spring's really going to tell a lot about what we're going to see from the Martian this year. It's
funny you said that, Kevin, and I thank you for the phone call. I believe that Dominguez is the most important player on the Yankees. Because if Dominguez is not going to do it, if he's not going to show, then your only pivot is not a satisfactory pivot. It's just not. They don't have a bench with outfielders on it. They don't. So it's Dominguez or nothing. I'm sorry. They have nowhere to turn if it's not Dominguez. They would have to make a trade. They might have to revisit signing Verdugo again. That's how important this is. Trent Grisham is not the answer if Dominguez doesn't hit. And one other aspect that the Yankees have to solve. Dominguez has to be able to hit right-handed. He can't be a black hole right-handed. He just can't. That's been a problem. Now, the Yankees are fortunate that there are fewer lefty starters. I think there's only 2 left-handed starters in the American League East. Shane McClanahan and Garrett Crochet. That's it. But they do struggle against some lefties, and that's going to be an issue. That's going to be an issue. And then, a lefty starter or a lefty reliever also neutralizes some of their left-handed bats. Thank goodness for Judge. He punishes lefties. Let's go to Bobby in Belmore. Bobby.
Hi, Mike. Good afternoon. I agree they are the best team. You forgot about Tucker not being on the Astros in the American League. But I'm just going to look at the postseason, just the postseason. Bellinger's a .211 postseason hitter. Freed's got over 5 ERA in the postseason. Got bombed in the playoffs last year. Has arm issues the last couple of years. And the last time I like Holmes in the eighth and Weaver in the ninth. They were very good in the postseason, Mike. Well, last time I saw Williams, he gave up that home run to Alonso. I'm sorry. So I'm not. I think they have a great shot getting back to the World Series, but I'm not so confident as other people looking at these guys' postseason record. Plus, you have Judge hasn't hit well.
But I mean, you're zeroing in on Fried's failures. Also, he also helped the Braves win a World Series.
Exactly. He was fantastic in that game. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that was 2021. But since then, I've looked at the numbers. He's been bad, Mike, in the postseason. So, and he's had arm issues the last couple of years. So,
well, I would think, Bobby, that they certainly did their due diligence with the physical, and they didn't sign a guy that they felt was going to be hurt. So we'll see. If he gets hurt again, then that is a problem. But when you keep quoting me, guys that struggled in the postseason. Well, Alex Rodriguez struggled in the postseason until 2009 when he actually carried the Yankees to a World Series championship, almost by his lonesome. So things can turn, and I know somebody's going to call in. Judge was terrible in the postseason. But you know what? He had a home run and a double, 2 walks in Game 5. If there was a Game 6, I think he had found his stride. He also had the big home run of Clase. So he did some damage, although he did struggle more than you want him to struggle, especially after another big season. That's something that he has to solve. Let's go to John in North Bergen. John.
Hi, Mike. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you taking my call.
You got it.
Thanks, man. You're my man. I love you guys. I love listening to you.
Thank you.
But wait, you're Mr. Yankee. With us losing Soto, the Bronx is hitters friendly park. Do you really believe Soto's gonna put up the same numbers at Queens? I don't think so. Do you?
Well, I think he's going to be great. I mean, whether he puts up the same numbers, John, I mean, that remains to be seen. He doesn't have the same protection in the lineup. So Pete Alonso could hit you home runs, but he is not the same danger that Aaron Judge is. So I think he's going to walk an awful lot. He might walk 140 times because teams are going to take their chance pitching to Alonso. They didn't really want to take their chance all that much pitching the Judge, and still he had an incredibly high on-base percentage. So even if he doesn't have 41 home runs, please, even if you're a Yankee fan, and I understand you're not in love with Juan Soto anymore, he's going to be great with the Mets because he's a great player. He's a great hitter. Will the numbers be the same? Will they be as potent? I don't know. Is Lindor going to get off to a bad start again? If he doesn't, that helps Soto. There's going to be some uneven base all the time. That's a key. Is Alonso going to hit 50 home runs or he's going to have 35? That's a key. So all of those things play a role in this. Let's go to Jonathan upstate. What's up, John?
Hey, Michael, how's it going, man?
Good. How about you?
I cannot complain. I just want to say I've been a long-time listener since I was a teenager. I love you, man. I'm just so happy to even be opportunity to be talking to you.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. But what I did want to say was I do think that the Yankees are the best team in the American League. I agree with you. I've been watching my whole life, and losing Soto was a big loss for us, and it hurt me. But after getting Devin Williams and getting Fried and all of the moves we made, I've watched my whole life, and the Yankees have all of this hitting, and they hit all these home runs, and when it comes to the playoffs, we lose to dominant pitching. No, we didn't lose to dominant pitching last year, but overall, I've seen that good pitching, starting rotation, having 2 and 3 aces helps you win. I love what they did. I love how they bounced back, and I do think we're the team to beat this year.
I love what you're saying. I feel that way, too. I feel that way, too. I think it's going to be an exciting summer. I think both the Yankees and the Mets are going to be really, really good and really fun teams. How great is that? We don't have it in football. The 2 football teams stink. We don't have it in basketball. Only one basketball team's good. The other one's terrible. We've got really interesting teams in hockey. But it's going to be a great summer, everybody. If you're a Met fan, you should be excited. You got Juan Soto. And if you're a Yankee fan, you're the best team in that league. You should be excited. And I'll tell you what, the games between the Yankees and the Mets, they're going to be just unbelievable. Unbelievable drama. When the Mets come to Yankee Stadium in May, Can you imagine the greeting that Juan Soto's going to get? News out of Tampa as Aaron Boone is talking with the media. Jake Cousins has a forearm strain. A few weeks into a no-throw, so he probably will not be ready for the start of the season. It already begins. That's why picking early is ridiculous. Clayton Beater, who's supposed to be part of the bullpen, has a shoulder issue, so he's a little behind in his build-up as well. So right out of the gate, bing, bang, bang, you see things happen.